Awesome to be here. Can everybody hear me all the way in the back? Everything good audio-wise? Very excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity from the SFL to participate. Before I get going, I did want to briefly say, if anything that I say, in fact, if anything that anyone says here at this conference inspires you or changes the way that you view your advocacy, make sure that you connect with that person. Make sure that you connect with me afterwards. I am more than happy to extend myself as a resource. The last 3 years I've been fighting for Bitcoin rights in the United States, and I have learned quite a lot along the way, as it is my full-time career now. Lastly, one last point before I get into my notes here, and excuse me, I will be looking down quite a bit. I wanted to make sure that I delivered a very clear message today, but before I get going, this has been an incredible event so far. 3 different locations. I do events myself, very difficult to pull off, so big round of applause to the SFL and Tamar for putting it together. Okay. Let's see if I can get this up here more. Nope, it's not going to work for me. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. We the people, these 3 critical words at the beginning of the U.S. Constitution acknowledge a very big idea. Liberty requires people to take action. The Constitution itself creates a framework for a more perfect union, but democracy and liberty ultimately depend on we the people to secure our vision for a better world. Without actions by citizens and advocates, we risk losing many of the freedoms which have been hard fought for over the centuries. For it is for this reason that in June of 2022, I founded my first nonprofit, Satoshi Action Fund, an organization dedicated to going on the offense for the right to access and mine Bitcoin. I launched this organization alongside my 2 co-founders because I was deeply concerned with the direction that my country was headed in. I was concerned that my right to buy, sell, self-custody, and mine Bitcoin was being threatened. Bitcoin as a technology has the potential to dramatically shift the status quo in money, banking, finance, payments, and even the energy industry. A technology that disrupts so many industries would not, in my opinion at the time, be accepted or adopted with ease by those currently in power. In 2020, I began to fear that one day I would wake up and I would be forced to give up my Bitcoin or flee my country. I wasn't the only one who felt this way either. It was a dominant thought among Bitcoiners in America that we must keep our identities a secret for fear that one day governments across the world would attack Bitcoin and politically persecute its users. There are many Bitcoiners today who still hide their identity and won't show their faces online because they fear that the usage of Bitcoin could result in direct discrimination. From 2017, when I first discovered Bitcoin, to 2020, I also lived in fear. I was totally anonymous as a Bitcoiner for the same exact reasons. I believed my support of Bitcoin could result in political attacks and persecution. Eventually, my passion for Bitcoin and its ability to enhance the human experience pushed me out of the shadows and into the public sphere. I believe Bitcoin was the solution to many of the issues we face today globally, including the ability to bank the unbanked by providing an inclusive monetary system to anyone who wished to join. I quickly became a loud voice in the Bitcoin community on the need for Bitcoiners to become politically active. To be clear, my early fears of political attacks were not unfounded. Some of the largest media outlets and anti-Bitcoin groups have smeared me and labeled me as an extremist. But these attacks do not dissuade me. They only embolden my desire to fight for my cause and increase my belief that there was a desperate need for political action. But these attacks, although they do not stop, they increase my belief in the need for political action, and it did not start that day. It is rooted in my upbringing. As a child, I grew up in a family that understood the need to keep a close eye on the political process. During the 3 years that I lived in Juarez, Mexico, my father regularly tuned the radio to political shows as we crossed the border to buy supplies for our humanitarian work. It gave us both a lot of time to discuss the issues of the day. Those formidable years shaped my views on the need for liberty-minded individuals to participate in the political process. I quickly understood that liberty earned and not fought for would soon be liberty lost. Liberty, a concept as old as civilization itself, demands our constant vigilance to preserve and protect it. It's a torch passed down through generations, illuminating the path towards a future where individual rights and freedoms are upheld against the encroachments of tyranny. Yet this torch does not burn brightly on its own. It is fueled by the actions, the sacrifices, and an unwavering commitment of those who understand that freedom is not the default state of mankind, but a precious achievement. In the evolving narratives of liberty within the digital age, Bitcoin represents a fascinating case study of the intersection between technology and freedom. Born out of the ashes of the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin emerges a radical alternative to the traditional banking system, challenging the centralized control of governments and financial institutions over monetary policy. Its creation was a statement of defiance, a call to arms for those who envisioned a future where financial transactions are transparent, secure, private, and most importantly, free from the control and interference of central powers. To date, Americans have enjoyed access to this technology and the free ability to use it. However, back in 2020, these liberties were not being adequately defended and were at risk of being chipped away. Everyone in this room witnessed how rapidly those in power acted in 2020 to restrict civil liberties in response to the pandemic. Myself and many Bitcoiners feared the same could happen at any moment for Bitcoin. Partway through the shutdowns in 2021, I began to realize that I needed to take action. I could no longer, in good conscience, wait on the sidelines and allow my freedoms, your freedoms, and the potential innovations of Bitcoin to be squashed in the USA. The torch of liberty requires more than mere acknowledgement. It demands action. It calls upon us to be ever vigilant, to recognize the value of our freedoms and to defend them against any form of encroachment. In 2021, I sensed the ability to access Bitcoin in America was about to come under direct attack. I knew it was time to act on behalf of liberty, despite many in my community scorning me for my views on the need to become politically active. For those of you that don't know, in the Bitcoin space, we're not exactly very fond of government interaction. But as Pericles famously once said, just because you do not take an interest in politics doesn't mean politics won't take an interest in you. Over time, my instincts were proven accurate, and my decision to stand up for my cause garnered broad support within my own community. Today in the USA, we still face wave after wave of attempts at the federal and state level to go after Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining. A certain senator in DC, who we shall not name, has even labeled herself as enemy number one of Bitcoin and has told the world that she is building an anti-crypto army. The vast majority of Americans simply do not have the resources to comply with the attempts by this senator to regulate the Bitcoin and digital asset space. She put together a bill that she called light touch regulation. Ultimately, if this bill is passed into law, it would be a backdoor ban on the direct usage of Bitcoin for large swaths of the public. The end result of a bill like this is not hard to imagine. When few are permitted the freedom to access Bitcoin, we would see deep levels of centralization sweep across the nation. History has taught us that a sufficiently centralized industry is an industry ripe for regulatory capture. And the most frustrating part? This senator was directly actively lobbying for the bill and was able to secure bipartisan support for her attack on Bitcoin. In total, she was able to get 20 US senators, that's 20 out of 100, to co-sponsor her anti-Bitcoin bill. That equates to 1/5 of the world's most deliberative body, signing on to what she declared to be light touch regulation. Light touch regulation is a common word, a common term in political politics in the US. I have heard and even used this term myself, but I have yet to see it used so intentionally to mislead. If it were not for the groups on the ground in DC, the work at Satoshi Action, and the work of many advocates across America, it is likely this bill would have picked up further steam. It may still, which is why vigilance must be sustained. Unfortunately, this isn't the only battle we face. The federal government has also made pointed and targeted comments about the need to restrict Bitcoin. As a technology, mining is poised to enhance our energy systems. The nascent public infrastructure has a unique load profile which enables miners to balance the grid in unprecedented fashion. In states like Texas, we saw the power of this technology play out in real time. In February of 2021, an aggressive winter storm smashed into Texas, resulting in one of the worst grid failures the state had ever experienced. During this storm, power plants tripped offline amidst extreme increases in the demand for power, which resulted in grid imbalances that pushed the Texas grid to its breaking point. By the end of the storm, hundreds of Americans died in the cold, and the grid experienced billions in damages. While Texas was reeling from this catastrophe, the number one place for Bitcoin mining in the world virtually banned it overnight. China, a once open country for Bitcoin mining, boasted nearly 60% of the world's Bitcoin mining computation, had used its political power to control who had access to electrical power. Bitcoin miners fled the country in droves. A large portion of them sought refuge in Texas. Due to the openness of the market, a unique energy policies, and friendliness towards large users of power. By late 2022, the migration had settled, and when another winter storm had hit Texas, the Bitcoin miners powered down and made their energy usage available to the grid and to local neighbors to the tune of 1.7 gigawatts. To put that number in context, 1.7 gigawatts is enough energy to heat 1.7 million homes, or to power over 300 large hospitals. It is an incredible amount of power. I tell you this story to share the opportunities that Bitcoin has to offer not only Texas, not only America, but the entire world. Despite this and other clear benefits of Bitcoin, misguided policymakers who believed mining was bad for America recently proposed a 30% tax on Bitcoin mining's energy usage. Misinformation around Bitcoin also resulted in a partial ban of Bitcoin mining in the state of New York, where some lawmakers convinced themselves that mining would lead to great harm. If the tale of Bitcoin teaches us anything, it's the arena of political engagement is where the fate of our liberties are often decided. The digital age, for all its technological advances, has not diminished the importance of this arena. If anything, it has expanded it, introducing new battlefields for the rights to privacy, free speech, and economic autonomy. The story of Bitcoin and its regulatory challenges highlights the importance of being politically active and informed. Advocates for digital currencies have had to engage legal battles, lobby legislators, and participate in public discourse to defend the right to innovate and transact freely. Their efforts have not only helped to secure a space for Bitcoin and digital assets within the legal framework, but have also raised awareness about the broader implications of digital technologies on privacy and freedom. Bitcoin advocates are, of course, not the first or the last to fight for their cause. History is filled with examples of individuals and movements that have successfully leveraged the political process to safeguard and expand freedoms. Around the world, grassroots movements have harnessed the power of collective action to bring about change, whether it's advocating for freedom of speech, environmental protections, social justice, cannabis legalization, personal privacy, or digital rights. These movements demonstrate the effectiveness of political participation. They show that when individuals come together, driven by a shared commitment to liberty, they can influence the policies and laws that shape our society. As we continue to navigate the complexities of the 21st century, the importance of being engaged citizens cannot be overstated. The challenges we face in safeguarding our liberties, especially in the digital realm, require us to be vigilant, informed, and proactive. The fight for freedom now more than ever demands our participation. To the students of liberty, the message is clear. Political engagement is not a mere option, but a necessity. Whether through voting, lobbying, participating in public debates, or running for office, active involvement in the political process is crucial. It is through these actions that we can ensure the institutions that govern us reflect our values and uphold our freedoms. The quest for liberty has shaped the contours of human history, inspiring revolutions, informing constitutions, and driving the evolution of society towards advancing the individual and enhancing the human experience. From the ancient Athenian democracy to the ideals that shaped America during and after the fight for its independence, the concept of liberty has been central to our understanding of what it means to be a human and understand what it means to be expanding human flourishing and individualism. It is woven into the fabric of our collective consciousness, a guiding principle that transcends cultures and generations. Yet, as we celebrate past achievements in the quest for freedom, we are reminded that liberty's flame is fragile. It can be diminished. It can be dimmed by complacency, eroded by fear, or extinguished by tyrants. Our gathering today in a city that embodies resilience required to safeguard freedom is a testament to our shared resolve to keep the torch of liberty burning brightly for generations to come. The nation of Georgia, a crossroads of East and West, has seen the ebb and flow of empires, each leaving its mark on the fabric of this place and its people. Yet through it all, Georgia has remained a beacon of hope and a testament to the strength found in the constant pursuit of liberty. It's a poignant reminder that our freedoms, much like this country, are not inherited unchallenged, but are the result of continuous efforts and vigilance and the collective will of the people who cherish liberty above all. Georgia has been a witness to centuries of conquest, resilience, and rebirth. Here in its capital, the cobblestone streets and the ancient architecture tell stories of a past filled with both turmoil and triumph, reflecting the enduring human spirit in the face of adversity. It is here, in this historic city, where cultures have converged, ideas have flourished, and revolutions have been ignited, that we find ourselves reflecting on the very essence of what it means to be free. The fight for freedom is as ancient as time itself, but the landscape is ever-changing and evolving. The advent of the digital age has ushered in an era of unprecedented change, redefining the fight for liberty in ways we are still beginning to understand. The internet, with its vast repositories of knowledge and platforms for free expression, has democratized information and empowered individuals like never before. The digital revolution has facilitated a global dialogue, connecting diverse cultures and allowing voices from the most remote corners of the world to be heard. Yet, as we navigate this new frontier, we are confronted with the challenges that test the very essence of our freedoms. But how do we defend these freedoms? What steps can we take to ensure our cause and our liberties can shine brightly? We cannot simply show up and profess the need for change. We must take bold action, think strategically, and we must teach ourselves, most importantly, how to win. In fact, you owe it to your values and your cause to learn how to win. Utilizing education, coalition building, new technologies, strategic planning, and learning lessons from other movements will be crucial for your path to victory. Additionally, if you expect to continue winning, you must be capable of navigating challenges such as smear campaigns, political attacks, and public backlash. Effective advocacy requires you to learn the tools of the trade of advocacy so you can find the best places to score points for you and your supporters. And when you score points, you must ensure that your opponents do not tear down your victories. In the case of Bitcoin and Satoshi Action, we pursue achievable wins by advocating at the state level. We also work to expand the Overton window of possibilities through education and peer-reviewed materials. By engaging directly with state governments, we can leverage the more accessible and often more responsive nature of these entities to enact significant legislative reform. This approach not only yields immense benefits within the state, but it can also set a precedent influencing national and even international policies. This approach quickly yielded results for our cause. Satoshi Action passed law in multiple states in its first year, driving legal protections for Bitcoin while shifting the narrative to a better landscape. These triumphs underscore a critical lesson. The importance of engaging at the state and local level should not be underestimated. The local level is fertile ground for advocacy, where small groups of dedicated individuals can wield considerable influence over policy decisions. As we continue to expand our exploration of political engagement, let us not overlook the immense potential that the local level and the local advocates hold for advancing the cause of liberty. It is important to realize that these advocates and the advocates at the local level do not tell lawmakers that what they are working on is in our own vision. And what I mean to say by this is, let's take an example of the cannabis industry. The cannabis advocates went state by state, and they told lawmakers not why they wanted to consume cannabis, not why it was good for them, but why it was good for the jurisdiction and why it was good for the lawmakers. It is important to realize these advocates did not tell lawmakers that cannabis should be legal because they wanted to be allowed to smoke or consume whatever they wanted. Cannabis advocates took the time to focus their message around what they knew lawmakers wanted to hear. Oftentimes, this means dropping technical jargon, ideological phrases, and well-worn explanations for a language that lawmakers will understand and appreciate. It means sharing how your cause will benefit the people of lawmakers' jurisdiction, and to some extent, how it will benefit the jurisdiction directly. In the case of cannabis, it was jobs, lower crime, higher property values, and yes, new tax revenue. Lawmakers understood and wanted these benefits that the cannabis industry had to offer. This is how effective advocacy works. It is your goal as an advocate to share the benefits of advancing your cause in a way that others will understand and appreciate. That approach worked flawlessly for cannabis advocates. In 2012, this new approach resulted in 2 Democrat-controlled states, Washington and Colorado, passing sweeping pro-cannabis reforms into law. This happened while the federal government still maintained that buying, selling, and growing cannabis was a federal crime. Fast forward to today, and 75% of the USA, including Republican-controlled states, have pro-cannabis laws on the books. We even see federal officials, including the president today, openly discussing the need for policy changes at the federal level. The approach of state action, combined with strategic messaging, produced wins for cannabis. It also showed the world that it is possible to win, and win big for your cause, by working at the local level. This approach is the exact same strategy that we implement at Satoshi Action. In fact, we are on a nearly identical path, only we have the lessons of history and new technologies speeding up our efforts. In 2023, we passed our pro-Bitcoin bills into law in 2 states, both Republican-held. And in 2024, we saw our pro-Bitcoin policies introduced in over 20 states. In 2025, we're poised to cross the political aisle and have our policies introduced in a Democrat-controlled state for the very first time. We are a small team of 2. You may be asking yourself, how is it possible that we could be moved so quickly for our cause with only 2 policy people? Yes, it starts with passion and dedication, but a desire to score wins for Bitcoin alone is not enough. Our speed of action was made possible by the advent of technology and rapid changes in the willingness of people to engage on new technology platforms. Although the pandemic was a challenging time for many, it did result in the rapid adoption of internet-based video calls among not just the young, but the elderly as well. This change made it possible to have conversations with dozens of lawmakers across the USA for a fraction of the cost and the time that it would take in years prior. Instead of flying to lawmakers, booking hotels, and renting cars, we could send a calendar invite to join a Zoom call. From there, it was a matter of time explaining the power of Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining as a tool for inclusion, economic development, grid stability, rural jobs, and environmental cleanup. Not only can we as advocates communicate directly with the most powerful people in the world from the comfort of our homes, we can now bypass traditional media to reach millions with social media. We can drive advocates to write letters and engage in the political process with one-click tools. We can drive support and donations from across the world with the latest fundraising software. We can track the progress of our legislative efforts with the advanced bill tracking software. And this is just the beginning. Advocates have more power than ever, but we must take bold action to use these tools and these strategies to fight for our cause. In the garden of change, modern democracy tools are well-forged spade in the hand of a gardener. Just as the spade itself does not cultivate the garden, but requires the gardener to dig deep, turning the soil to plants of seeds, so too do these tools require advocates to wield them with purpose and determination. Without action, the spade is merely a piece of metal. With bold effort, it becomes the catalyst for a thriving, blossoming garden that transforms the landscape. As we stand on the cusp of a new era, the landscape of liberty and advocacy faces both daunting challenges and unprecedented opportunities. The rapid advancement of technology presents a double-edged sword while offering innovative tools for freedom and expression. It also poses significant risks to privacy, security, and democratic principles. The emergence of artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and mass surveillance necessitates a vigilant and proactive approach to ensure these new tools enhance more than they diminish our liberties. The complexity of the political process can be daunting. Engaging effectively requires an understanding of legislative timelines, the ability to conduct thorough research, and a skill to craft pervasive arguments. The campaign to legitimize Bitcoin serves as a prime example. We had to educate lawmakers about the technology, translating complex concepts into accessible narratives and demonstrating the potential benefits to their constituents. Changing public opinion is also another hurdle. Advocacy often involves challenging deeply entrenched beliefs and attitudes. The power of storytelling, showcasing tangible benefits for their community, can play a pivotal role in garnering empathy and garnering support for a cause. Targeted political attacks from news outlets, your opposition, or other groups can be frustrating. However, I have yet to engage with a successful, long-standing advocacy group that cannot be attacked or has not been attacked. Remember to wear any attacks as a badge of honor and internalize these attacks that they are meant to slow you down because you are winning. My response to any of these attacks? Keep it coming. I will never stop fighting for the right to access Bitcoin. I will never stop fighting to protect Bitcoin mining, and I will never stop fighting for the right to protect my own freedoms. Ultimately, navigating these changes requires resilience, adaptability, and commitment to your mission, as well as an ongoing learning and growth. The path of advocacy is strewn with obstacles, but each challenge we overcome is a step closer to achieving our objectives. As I close out this speech, I will challenge you to take lessons from me and others around you. No one person or group has all the answers, but it will require you taking action to build relationships and coalitions to be successful. If you believe anyone here, including myself, can add value to the work that you're doing today, I encourage you to reach out. We are partnering with groups all over the world, including Bitcoin Policy UK. As we look forward, let us embrace the complexities of our time with optimism and resolve. The journey ahead is ours to chart. Armed with the lessons of history, the tools of the present, and the vision for a brighter future, we stand ready to meet the challenges and seize the opportunities that lie ahead. Together, we the people can ensure that the flame of liberty, once lit, burns ever brighter, guiding our way through the digital age and beyond into a future where freedom, justice, and liberty prevail for all. Thank you.
Yeah.